1. Football soccer. Long before football filled giant stadiums and attracted billions of fans, it was little more than organized chaos. Across medieval England, entire villages played a rough game known as mob football. There are almost no rules. Hundreds of people chased a single ball through muddy streets, rivers, and open fields. Kicking, pushing, wrestling, and even punching were often part of the game. Some matches stretched for hours, and injuries were simply expected. People often imagine football was invented by one person. It wasn't. Different schools, towns, and clubs all played by their own rules. In one place, carrying the ball was allowed. In another, it wasn't. Every match began with an argument over how the game should actually be played. Everything changed in 1863. Representatives from several English clubs met in London to create one universal set of rules. Their goal wasn't to invent football from scratch. It was to stop the endless confusion and make every match fair, no matter where it was played. One decision changed history. Running with the ball in your hands was removed from the rules. Some clubs disagreed and left the meeting. Those clubs would eventually help create rugby, while the remaining clubs continued developing what became modern football. From there, the game spread through British sailors, merchants, and railway workers to every corner of the world. Today, football looks fast, technical, and carefully organized. But beneath every perfect pass is a game that began as complete chaos. 2. Basketball. Basketball wasn't created for packed arenas or gravity-defying slam dunks. It was created because students were bored. During the freezing winter of 1891, physical education instructor James Naismith needed a game his students could play indoors. American football was too violent for the gymnasium. Baseball required too much space, and the long winter left few options. So he created something entirely new. He nailed 2 peach baskets to opposite ends of the gym balcony and wrote 13 simple rules. The objective was straightforward. Throw the ball into the basket. There was just one problem. The baskets had closed bottoms. Every time someone scored, the game stopped while another student climbed a ladder to retrieve the ball. Only later were holes cut into the baskets, and eventually they were replaced with metal hoops and nets. People often think basketball has always been about speed and athleticism. The original game looked very different. There was no dribbling as we know it today. Players mostly passed the ball because running while holding it wasn't allowed. The pace was slower, and teamwork mattered far more than flashy moves. As the sport spread through schools, colleges, and community centers, new rules transformed it into the fast-paced game millions love today. Basketball wasn't born from competition. It was born from one teacher trying to keep a class busy during winter. 3. Tennis. Tennis has one of the strangest scoring systems in sports. 15, 30, 40, game. But the story of tennis began long before anyone kept score that way. Centuries ago, European nobles played a game called real tennis inside enclosed courts. Players hit the ball with their hands before rackets were eventually introduced. Kings loved it. Ordinary people rarely had the chance to play. Everything changed in the 19th century. A British Army officer named Major Walter Clopton Wingfield wanted a version of the game that could be played outdoors on freshly cut lawns. In 1874, he introduced a portable set complete with rackets, balls, nets, and printed rules. Lawn tennis quickly became a fashionable social activity. Families gathered in gardens. Friends competed at country houses. Soon, clubs began appearing across Britain. Just 3 years later, Wimbledon held its first championship, helping establish the sport's official rules and turning tennis into an international competition. Many people believe tennis was invented in 1874. It wasn't. Wingfield modernized and simplified a game that had already existed for centuries, making it accessible to ordinary people instead of royalty alone. Today, tennis is played on grass, clay, and hard courts across the world. But every championship point can still trace its roots back to a game once played inside royal palaces. For cricket, cricket didn't begin in a famous stadium. It began in open fields where children played with simple wooden sticks and handmade balls. Historians believe the earliest versions of cricket appeared in rural England during the 1500s. Shepherds and farm workers adapted children's games into friendly competitions, gradually adding rules as the sport became more popular. At first, every village played differently. The size of the field changed. The equipment changed. Even the rules changed. As cricket spread across England, players realized that a common rulebook was needed if teams from different regions were going to compete fairly. In 1787, the Marylebone Cricket Club, better known as the MCC, became the guardian of the laws of cricket. Many of the game's most important rules were standardized there, creating the foundation of the modern sport. Then the British Empire carried cricket across the globe. Soldiers, sailors, merchants, and administrators introduced the game to countries including India, Australia, Pakistan, South Africa, New Zealand, and the West Indies. Over time, many of those nations didn't just adopt cricket. They mastered it. People often think cricket is simply an English sport. In reality, it became a global game because every country added its own style, passion, and identity to it. From quiet village fields to stadiums packed with roaring fans, cricket proves that even the simplest games can travel farther than anyone imagined. 5. American football. At first glance, American football looks completely different from rugby. Helmets, shoulder pads, forward passes, complex tactics. But the two sports share the same family tree. In 1869, one of the earliest college football games was played between Rutgers and Princeton. The game looked nothing like the NFL we know today. It borrowed heavily from both soccer and rugby, and every school followed slightly different rules. The turning point came with Walter Camp, often called the father of American football. He believed the game needed more structure. He introduced a line of scrimmage, where each play begins. He helped create the system of downs, giving teams a limited number of chances to advance the ball. These changes transformed the sport from a chaotic contest into a strategic battle where planning mattered just as much as strength. Later, the forward pass completely changed how the game was played, opening the field and making offenses faster and more exciting. People often assume American football was simply copied from rugby. In reality, it evolved into a completely different sport over decades of experimentation, with new rules shaping every aspect of the game. Today, every snap, every touchdown, and every carefully planned play can be traced back to students who simply wanted a better version of the games they were already playing. 6. Volleyball. Volleyball wasn't created for professional athletes. It was created for businessmen. In 1895, a physical education instructor named William G. Morgan noticed that many older members of his local YMCA found basketball too exhausting. They wanted something competitive, but with less running, less contact, and fewer injuries. So Morgan combined ideas from several different sports. He borrowed the net from tennis, the ball from basketball, elements of baseball, and handball. The result was a brand new indoor game he called Mininet. The name didn't last long. During one demonstration, someone noticed that players were constantly volleying the ball back and forth over the net. The new name was obvious: volleyball. People often think volleyball was designed to be fast and explosive. The original version was almost the opposite. There were no powerful jump serves, no thunderous spikes, and no specialized positions. It was slower, gentler, and focused on keeping the ball in the air rather than smashing to floor. As the sport spread across schools, military bases, and community centers, players naturally became faster and more athletic. Rules evolved, techniques improved, and the game transformed into one of the world's most exciting team sports. Volleyball didn't begin as a test of power. It began as a game that almost anyone could enjoy. 7. Table tennis. Table tennis was born because dinner was over. Victorian families loved games, but bad weather often kept them indoors. Instead of ending the evening, they turned their dining tables into makeshift sports arenas. Books became the net. Wine corks became the ball. Cigar box lids became paddles. The dining room became the court. It looked more like a family experiment than a real sport. As the game became more popular, companies began producing proper equipment. Wooden paddles replaced homemade ones. Lightweight balls improved rallies, and folding nets made the game easy to set up almost anywhere. People often assume table tennis has always been a professional sport. For many years, it was simply after-dinner entertainment among friends and families. Eventually, organized competitions appeared across Europe and Asia. New rubber paddle surfaces allowed players to generate incredible spin, changing the sport forever. What once depended on gentle rallies became a battle of speed, precision, and deception. Today, the ball can travel faster than most people can react. Yet, the sport still carries a nickname that reminds everyone of its humble beginnings. Ping pong. Sometimes the world's fastest sports begin on the slowest evenings. 8. Formula One. Formula One wasn't created because people wanted faster cars. It was created because Europe wanted to find the fastest driver. Long before Formula One existed, countries held their own Grand Prix races. Manufacturers built powerful machines, and fearless drivers pushed them to their limits on public roads and racing circuits. Each event had different rules, different cars, different champions. There was no single world championship. That changed in 1950. The first official Formula One World Championship began at Silverstone in England, bringing the best drivers and teams together under one set of regulations. From that moment, racing became more than speed. It became engineering. Every season, teams searched for tiny advantages, better aerodynamics, lighter materials, smarter strategies. Sometimes a difference measured in thousandths of a second decided an entire championship. People often believe Formula One is only about having the fastest car. But victory depends on far more than horsepower. Drivers, engineers, mechanics, strategists, and even weather forecasts can decide who stands on the podium. Formula One has changed dramatically over the decades. The cars became faster. The technology became smarter. The competition became global. But the goal has never changed: to discover who can go faster than everyone else.